Japanese from Zero has a bunch of videos that George Trombley has made. He has a YouTube channel which you can just go and watch at any time. I'll link everything I talk about here in the video section. I will be linking down below. He has a bunch of free videos you can watch, and his site, you can register for the forum. That's free too. But then if you want access to his entire backlog of videos, you have to pay. And I registered, I think it was, there are different accounts, but I registered some standard account for $15 US dollars per month, and I get access to everything, and that's fine. It's really not a lot of money. If you can find it, Japan Foundation, the big Japan Foundation, they did a video series in the 80s and 90s, I think, called Let's Learn Japanese, parts 1 and 2. I'm looking at part 2 right now. It's educational, but it's also funny to watch because of some awkward acting. Japan Foundation also did sort of a sequel to that, although on a website instead of on TV as the former was. That's called Erin's Challenge, and it's really good because they have a bunch of fairly short clips, and they have this thing on the website which lets you add text under as it goes on, subtitles basically. And you have 4 levels. You have full Japanese with kanji, you have hiragana only, romaji only, and just plain translation. And you can switch them on and off at every time, and then you pause, try to read it, check with the translation, whatever, and then move on. It's very good. A few YouTube channels. YesJapan, as I said before. Give Me a Break Man / Give Me a Flake Man, which is run by a guy called Victor, King of the Morons, as he says. I think he started out as trying to do lessons and teaching stuff and writing on not chalkboards, but whiteboards and stuff. And now I think he's gradually turned into just a vlogger. But still, I mean, it's basically his life in Japan, Nagoya, and I don't know, it's pretty fun to watch. He's a pretty interesting character. And he also has a friend named Tomoko. Tomoko desu! She's really lively and fun to watch. She only in her videos she usually speaks all in Japanese, but she does subtitle what she says when she speaks in Japanese, so it's fine. Rachel and Yoon is another YouTube channel that's vlog-y, although the best videos that I've seen from them was when they interview Japanese people about different topics. And speaking of interviewing Japanese people, you have that Japanese man Yuta, and he just interviews Japanese people. Some topic, and then he just asks them stuff, and it's like, why are Japanese people shy? Do we need better English education in Japan? Or would you date a foreigner? And it's just interesting to see what real Japanese people think about stuff. And even though this doesn't really concern Japanese language learning, I still can recommend Begin Japanology, which is a television series of documentaries about various Japanese cultural things. It can be, some are more interesting than others. There's on samurai swords or ramen noodles or bicycles in Japan or something. Then there's less interesting things like the history of Japanese water cookers or Japanese macrame, whatever, just really tiny things, but still it's good, and it's half an hour of your life you learn something about Japanese culture and food, technology, whatever. It's good. Another thing video-wise that I of course have to recommend is GameCenter CX Kacho On! These are books, but still. GameCenter CX is a great Japanese show. It's with this guy, Ari no Kacho. He plays Japanese games, and he's not that good at them, but he has the patience of a god and plays for 12, 13 hours. Trudges along, sometimes over 2 or 3 days, and usually he gets to the end. Even though he doesn't always beat the game, but he always gets to the end. Very, very rarely he doesn't get halfway or whatever. It's inspired me to be a better gamer. It's just great. Of course, it was on Kotaku a while back, but they had dubbed it and it was terrible. There are subbed episodes online that you can find though. Yeah, 2 thumbs up for GameCenter CX. When it comes to this, I guess learn by doing. There's not too much to say than just do it. Although in this day and age, you might be using a computer more often than not, but it's still nice to be able to do, I think. I made the if you remember from one of my first videos, I made the kana grid to quiz myself in hiragana, and with just kanji, there's a lot of ways to learn kanji. Look like try to read something, you can just look at like this kanji right here and try to guess what it is, see what it is, whatever. But then if you think of a kanji, okay, the kanji for tree, and then okay, now I'm gonna write the kanji for tree. That's more mind utilizing than just looking at it. It's kind of easier to see a kanji and recognize it than it is to think of one and then write it down and stuff. So write kanji, it's a big tip for me. Another thing when it comes to writing that I do is take parts of game guides, write them down, and then try to translate them, because as I write them down, I practice writing in general, doing the kanji stroke orders, hiragana and stuff, and then I do translating, so it becomes like a lot of things in one. Another little tip I have is get one of these, a whiteboard, because it's a lot more fun to write down kanji on this than it is on paper. Now this is probably the hardest part, because if you're not living in Japan, Japanese people aren't that common in other places. They certainly aren't really here in Sweden, and speaking is the part I get to do the least. And even usually when I have the chance, I still revert to English just to be safe. To like, do I get my point across immediately with English, or do I try Japanese and risk failing getting my point across entirely? And then a lot of times I revert to English, which is embarrassing to think, really, but like I should take the chance when I have it. But yeah, that's how it goes in the Wild Wild West. No badass cowboy living in the cowboy's age, etc. But when it comes to speaking, I guess that's where the CD thing actually can come to a little bit of usage. And if you've learned, like if you hear a cool quote or something in a game or in an anime or in a song or something, just say it, repeat it, copy it basically. Basically, phone recommendations, apps and stuff. When it comes to me and learning Japanese, I have a little bit of a thought process going on most every day about Japanese in just some sense. And basically the app I've used the most is Google Translate. People are really quick to dismiss Google Translate, and yes, it's not great, but it's the only thing that I have. I mean, if I think of a Japanese sentence and I want to try it out, the first thing I do basically is put it down in Google Translate and see what comes out. If what comes out doesn't make any sense at all, maybe something's off. If it's just weird, then maybe I'm onto something. But still, I like Google Translate on the phone just because it has the writing ability, so I can look up a kanji by doing that, which is what I do. I try to draw it. Hopefully, the Google Translate recognizes it and it comes up, and then you can see the translation. Or I can just copy that to my other app that I'm going to get to, which is called Imiwa, which is basically a dictionary on your cell phone. But it can also look up kanji. You have examples, stroke order for the different kanjis. It's just all-encompassing, a great app to have. And I think it's available on Android too. I'm talking about iPhone, by the way, because that's what I have right now. I have an app called Asahi Kanji, which is a kanji quiz app. And there's some different versions. You can have like 4 kanji meanings kanji. Japanese for Busy People has an accompanying app. There's one like light version that's free, and there's one that you pay for, but I recommend paying for it. It basically has the chapters that the book has, some example stuff, a few quizzes. You can play up the dialogue parts to listen to it, which is very good. JLPT Study Free. That's basically to train words, vocabulary, and yeah, it's just good. And finally, Take Kim's Learning Japanese, which is like a collection of chapters and stuff with just information about various things. It's like a short book in a telephone, and apparently it's pretty comprehensive. Looks like it. I've been looking at it. I haven't been looking at it that much because I tend to prefer books when it comes to just plain reading. But still, it's a good one. Okay, that about covers my methods that I use to learn Japanese, and yeah, good luck to you and good luck to me. Let's both ganbarimasu in the future.